Are you thinking about Californios, or what could be your own restaurant?
So that's basically where Californios got started. At the time I started talking about it with my wife and with another business partner at the time, and it was basically just a situation where we were, sort of doing a lot of basically running the restaurant. Matt and Teague stepped out for a little bit, and so there was a small group of us who were, doing almost everything. And so we started talking about California. So I said, why isn't anybody doing this with Mexican cuisine? And, that was like right whenever Enrique Loveto was kind of like being seen a little bit more. And so, of course, I, did my research on him, and then I left Sons and Daughters and just kept working on it. And I went to Mexico City, staged at Puyol, and then just came back and kept working on it and did a few pop-ups. But I think what we realized pretty quickly with pop-ups is that it's very difficult to make money and even sustain yourself doing pop-ups, and then B, if you have like the concept and you can cook, you should really try to focus on getting a space as soon as possible, so that way you can know where your chinois is, know where your ingredients are, and not having to be like bootstrapping it so hard, able to receive deliveries and all that, so.
How many pop-ups did you do total?
Probably 6 or 7.
Okay.
Maybe a few more than that, but some small events and small tastings and different things like that. But
and then from idea to actually having a space, how long did that take you?
It was about 2 years, I think.
2 years of doing these pop-ups, working at Sons and Daughters still?
No, by that time I had left. Yeah. So and then
What were you doing for work? Not Starbucks.
So for work, and that's the other crazy thing about doing pop-ups and stuff is that nobody wants to hire a part-time cook. I would try to be really upfront with people and say, hey, look, I'm trying to do pop-ups, and can I work here part-time? And usually the answer, well, in my experience, the answer is no, because nobody wants that. So I did help David Barzilay a little bit in the underground days, and he was like the king of pop-ups in the Bay. And I had a friend who was working for him, and I said, okay, well, let me come work and see how you guys are doing this.
Yeah.
So Jared.
Yeah, Jared.
Yeah, Jared took over my station at Sons and Daughters.
Yeah. So then, I realized that he was basically running an underground restaurant, not necessarily a pop-up.
Got you.
He had like a permanent underground restaurant location, which is, pretty ideal if you're really working on an underground restaurant.
Gotcha. Well, I just I just had John Yao on the show, and he was talking about he's going to, I think, move to a new space.
Oh, really cool.
So,
nice.
And I was like, what are you going to do with this? And he's like, well, I think I might use it as a sort of a pop-up kitchen.
Incubator, yeah.
And I'm like, an incubator space. I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Because now you have, you've been knighted. Like, it's okay for you to do this here.
Right.
Yeah.
So that might be the way of the future here.
That would be cool.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I guess it would just be like renting an apartment.
Yeah.
It's the same shit.
Yeah.
I feel like when you put the restaurant name on it, then it's a house.
Right.
And it's like, hard to move it,
Yeah.
There's a big part of opening restaurants that I find really intriguing, and that's the messaging to your future guests. Because it starts off, so tell me, like, how did the first conceptualization of Californios versus what it became when you opened?
Yeah, I would say in the beginning we didn't know exactly what we were going to be. We thought maybe we'll be more casual, maybe we'll open a casual Mexican, still like, sort of forward thinking, but more casual in the beginning. But it really, fine dining and like tasting menus were always really like my passion and my interest.
Yeah.
And so I said, why deviate? Like if I want to change it later, we can. And when we opened the restaurant, we started with a $57 tasting menu.
Yeah.
So
$57.
Yeah, it was like
In
always trying to
2007.
find like that perfect number.
Yeah.
So I remember at Sons and Daughters, it was like 42 to 48, 52 to 57 to 63.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a great time to be eating.
yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Because now it's, what is Sons and Daughters now?
I think 195.
Something like that.
Something like that?
195.
Yeah.
Heard. And then, Chef, when you said this is going to be a tasting menu, what did you then have to do? Obviously, now you have to find talented staff. It's
Right.
not like, okay, it's casual, we can do it, whatever.
Yeah, so we, my wife designed the space. We got it for a good deal at the time, and we did a bare minimum remodel. And my sister-in-law, who was working at the French Laundry in the front of house, came on and did our front of house and wine program. Joe was the first person I called. Joseph was the first person I called to say, "Hey, can you come help me open this restaurant?" And he said yes, and really was incremental in us getting off the ground.
Yeah. So when he called you, what were you? You were at the Starbucks?
No, I'm trying to remember where I was.
I know, yeah, it's like
so you go to you get.
This was pre.
Get him.
This is Red Medicine.
Oh yeah.
You were.
So I was at Red Medicine.
Heard that.
Yeah, and Red Medicine was.
In case you guys are wondering, that's flies dying in the background. Get them! Get them all! All right.
Oh.
Fine dining.
Yeah,
Fine dining, and then like, it's all good.
Yeah, I was at Red Medicine, and Red Medicine it was closing, and I was like, yeah, I mean, without a doubt, like that was the only restaurant that I wanted to work at in LA.
Yeah,
and I only wanted to work with Jordan.
So as soon as that, you were like, I'm out.
Yeah, I just kind of like was looking at my situation, and looking at my cars. I was like, look, like it's how it's got to be, I wouldn't really want to go to San Francisco and work for anybody else or work with anybody because it was kind of cool to see somebody like execute their vision.
Yeah.
From like beginning to like,
and then be part of it.
Yeah, and like see the space. You're like, of course it's like this. Like,
yeah,
this is every little thing was every single thing. That,
very cool. So you kind of come on, and it seems like it was just like perfect match. Fit.
It was really good.
And then, did you have trouble finding the rest of the staff?
We did, definitely. In the beginning, like, especially at that time, like, I didn't have a reputation, really, or,
Yeah.
So I hired another friend from Sons and Daughters, Tony, for pastry, and there was a guy I worked with at Lazy Bear who was interested in the concept, and he helped us open it. In the beginning, it was just us three.
I mean, it was the same Sons and Daughters type mentality, I think. Yeah. It was like, the stove was a little bit bigger, and we were like, all right, so... You got that. We got this.
Right.
Heard that. So, did you guys formulate stations before you opened the kitchen, or did you say, let's put this over here, turn it on, figure it out the first night, and then move shit around after?
Yeah, it was kind of, that was one of the things that I remember about Joe in the beginning. Like, the kitchen, like the dry storage was like literally you were walking over piles of shit to get to other shit, and it was like chaos. And Joe was like, all right, I'm gonna set up the stations. I was like, okay, awesome.
Yeah, what stations?
That's necessary.
Yeah, I think that, it got to a point where it's like, well, it's all got to get done, so like let's just do it.
Yeah. And then who was sort of your first team, and how long did it take to get there from opening?
I would say, Andrew, Joseph, and they were the two core people for a long time. Tony was there for about 3 months.
Heard.
We had a lot more difficulty finding a stable pastry person.
Yeah.
And then Jared came on. And then Andrew stuck with me for several years. So that was really the core team. I was really lucky to have like a really pretty strong, very strong first group of people.
Yeah, and it seems like you guys all got along, and
Definitely.
How did you deal with your first sort of foray into issues with guests and things like that? Now, as the chef, right? Because before you're a cook, you don't have to deal with that. Now you're dealing with people directly looking at you and being like, "Why is this bad?"
Right.
How did you deal with that?
It was tough. It was tough. It was an open kitchen as well, so it was. We were right there with all of our guests, and Mexican tasting menu at the time was really sort of unheard of. And, I think a lot of people thought, who the fuck are these people? Who do they think they are?
Did you get any food writers coming in that first year?
We did, yeah. We were lucky that we got, Michael Bauer came in after a couple months, and we got slammed in an article or two. For sure, people were kind of like unsure of us and pissed off about X, Y, and Z, but we got a 3-star review from Michael Bauer, which was really what sustained us, and
so that one shut everybody up.
It kept us alive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And from that review, did you find yourself saying like, okay, it's sort of the next like the next part of the growth of the restaurant?
Yeah.
After that review?
Totally. Yeah, we felt like, we like at least we're not total idiots.
Did it bring asses into the seats?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were busy. Are you making money at this point, or is it like, enough? I mean,
it's all relative,
Yeah.
Like we were sustaining ourselves, but we were also like, Carolyn, Charlotte, and myself were also not paying ourselves. So it was like, we were staying alive.
Eating staff meal.
Yeah.
Heard that.
Spicy stuff.
That's it. You said that twice now. It seems to be.
It's like a reoccurring thing.
Yeah. Is it like too spicy to eat?
I made a spicy green curry. That was like a kind of a tongue-in-cheek joke. Now that we look back.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, there was. I had this rule about staff meal. Like, it can't be hot. Like, warm is fine, but don't like boil it and then take it off and serve it. Because like the cooks are trying to eat quick.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're
You're gonna mess your palate up.
Blowing on it or throwing ice cubes in it. Like, I've had to do that before. It's like I don't really want to put ice cubes in my chicken curry, but I had no choice here.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And how long did you stay at
Californios?
Yeah,
Year and some change, I think.
Like that.
you're in some change. Okay. So he's your right hand man, basically, right?
Definitely.
He's about to leave. What goes through your head? Was it tough?
Gosh. I think we were lucky in that time that like we were starting to attract more people. We were definitely building a little reputation, and so we were always able to sort of continue to hire one person. Somebody would come in and they were interested in what we were doing and would join the team. And we were always able to stay afloat.
So it made it easy for you to step out.
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of like one of those situations where you start seeing like new faces come around, and you're like, all right, I know this is probably a good time to
exit,
have a conversation. Or
did you exit because you had something lined up?
I originally did not have anything lined up.
Okay.
But if you're a friend of a friend, Adon, who actually was the chef at Sweet Woodruff at the time, which is the Sons and Daughters restaurant. He was working at Apple, doing corporate fine dining and executive catering.
Yeah.
And so I got introduced to him, and he worked for Lonnie Cost for years, and I was like, look, like I need a job, I need something like stable.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, it's really stable working at Apple, and all this stuff. And I was like, this seems like it would be a nice vacation.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a retirement home for me, but it's a nice vacation.
How long did you do Apple?
A year, like a year and like 10 months.
How is it working there?
Apple's crazy because every little thing, it's like every little thing just works.
Yeah.
Like you see, like it's run by engineers, so like the workflow and everything, like your hiring packet has the same feel in the vacuum. That's why people don't throw away their iPhone boxes. Yeah. Because it feels so special.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So for me, I got a lot of like focusing on like, hey, this is how like a really successful large company does and treats its employees, and this is how we do it. And I had health insurance for like the first time since I was like 18.
Oh my goodness, that's the greatest.
So I got acupuncture.
Yeah. Go get your teeth cleaned, and they're like,
yeah,
where the fuck have you been?
Like,
were you in Castaway?
Yeah.
So chef, back to you. Michelin stars. Was it always a goal of yours to have the Michelin stars, to get the Michelin stars?
I mean, I think it was like a goal to subscribe to, just to like try and, the Michelin star will really keep you in business. The first star will really like, same thing as like any good review. It'll like bring people into your restaurant. And so, we got a Michelin star whenever we were at Sons and Daughters. That was the first year that they had a star. And it felt really good, and it felt like I was able to have some hand in it, and I thought, okay, well, if we're doing it here, like, surely I can repeat it. And the first year, we really didn't think it was going to happen. We got a really bad tweet from Michelin.
Really?
And so I thought, well...
They tweet bad things on Michelin?
Sometimes, yeah.
I guess that's back in the day.
Yeah. Back when people used Twitter a little bit more, but... I don't know. So yeah, the first star really kept us alive. Like, it was a blessing for sure.
Yeah. So you got the first star in the first year.
Uh-huh.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So that changes things.
Yeah.
Now, did